Alright, so let's give a critique to Fluster. So you're doing this splash art and you wanted to practice your render. Um, you said this is a thumbnail. I mean, so the thing about thumbnails, my very first critique on this is the fact that there's only one. So when you're practicing, especially for splash art, you will never uh, just do one thumbnail, one idea. What you want to do is come up with what it is that you want to do, um, and you you try several takes. You do several takes on it. So the fact that, I mean, this could be perceived as a thumbnail for sure, but I think you should definitely show more and do more, because your first idea is often not the best. I mean, it can be the best idea, but it's always better to like explore and try different things, even if on the same image. Like, say you take this thumbnail and you like adjust a few things a few times, even that is like, it's minimum work, but at least you tried to come up with different solutions to your idea. um so that's the first thing. Second thing is, fundamentally speaking, like, the composition is too, I don't know what she's doing. So that is the first thing you need to make clear, is that storytelling for splash art. Of course, there's two kinds of splash art: the one that is just flashy and a character is doing some cool pose or whatever, and then there's the other one, the other side of the coin, where there's actually a little bit of storytelling going on. And I feel like right now you're rendering a character and naming it like splash art. That's how it's feeling. Um, Looks like a shield bash. I honestly don't know if that is the case or not. I wanted to make her charge. Okay, so I guess like the lines here, etc., are going against the guy. I would give everything more space. First of all, I will mention her proportions and everything else that's like fundamentally as far as drawing goes. But again, this is a thumbnail. I don't even know if I should be speaking of that. Um, I mean, I do know if I should or not. Usually, thumbnails don't focus on if anatomy is good or not. They focus if the viewer can tell what the hell is going on, um, and if the idea comes through well. So right now, while it may appear that she's doing like a shield bash charge or thing, it's only a guess. You want to make it so crystal clear that no one goes like, is she doing this thing? Um, so you may want to look at different poses. Obviously, I think you are limited by your drawing abilities to pull some of this off, especially regarding perspective. But I would zoom out the image a bit more, show more space. So I would literally like grab this screen, and if I was in Photoshop, I would just resize it smaller to give more space to the surrounding. Um, if she or he is charging towards someone, then obviously you can show, as you're trying to do here on the left side, the silhouette of whoever or whatever he or she is charging. Um, uh, but I'd say that as far as poses go, maybe you could have an option where, um, like, if she's charging, then the shield should technically, if it's a shield charge, the shield could be technically the first reading thing, like, so the thing that takes the most space in an image, right? And then she could have, or he could have a pose where uh he or she is resting the weapon on the shield, and we just sort of like see the tip or something. Or obviously the pose that you got going here right now it looks like she's just like, I don't know, bashing to the side, kind of. So here's the thing: if she's doing a motion like bam, you know, like she's just smashing it like sideways, then you never want to show a pose that it's in the middle of doing an action. You either want before, so she's either like fully on charging like that, or she's like in this pose where you see her arm backwards, and then maybe someone is flying, you know, and you can sort of see that maybe she's like either running and she's like did that motion. Um, why not in motion? You can be in motion, but in the middle of the motion, you never want to do that because it's very awkward usually. I mean, it can work in certain situations, but either do before or after. Um, Never in the middle of like, you know, if you're gonna throw a punch, then you always want to paint or draw the very like the winding down of the punch or the actual punch being thrown. If you're just in the middle, it becomes a very weak image looking. There's not much impact. Well, it looks like she's going shoulder first forward. It kind of, I would kind of tilt it a little upwards. So I mean, there's several. Again, that's the reason why I was suggesting first to do several iterations, because there's literally like so many ideas you can take from what you have. Um, so so you need to make sure what it is that you want to read first. Also, if you're gonna do a charge, it would be nice if it was sort of like connected with the viewer, because right now it feels very disconnected. She's going to the side, she's looking to the side, you know what I mean? Like, either make us the viewer and she's gonna bash us, or or if she's actually attacking an enemy, make sure that like there's enough overlap that it still feels like maybe we're behind the enemy, you know, like make it more personal to the viewer. um and as far as composition goes, and storytelling, that would be my advice. um the the way you're drawing the cape is really affecting the, it's flattening the composition too. I would, if you want to make a floating cape, then the way, like, think about the motion that's happening here. If she's going this direction to the left, the cape wouldn't be doing, the only time the cape would do this sort of wave is if she stopped in her tracks, and then the cape sort of like goes a bit forward, because that's how it's looking like right now. It looks like it goes a bit forward or so, to the side of where she's bashing. But if she's still in motion, the cape would never be to her, to never be would never be to the left side. It would be on the right side, because, well, she's the force. She's the one doing the motion and has the main force of, well, the fucking motion. I don't know how to explain it in other words, but hopefully you know what I mean. So fundamentally speaking, there's a lot of problems. Her proportions are like really not good. There's one thing making a character look chunky, and that's pretty okay. Another thing, but what makes it look broken is that, for example, her arm, the way you're drawing it, it's like she would be a snake. Like, look how small her head is and where her hand is, and it's like all the way here. You'd have to have a pretty long elastic arm to go all the way around, and then grabbing the lance in this pose without seeing any of the elbow here or even the forearm. So it makes no sense. And it's mainly because of a perspective issue. I would definitely recommend, I can tell that you have not laid a single perspective line, and you can fix some of that through perspective. That's her superpower. She's elastic. So like, there's other things like, for example, the shoulder pad armor is just ridiculous for the size of her head and hand. There's just again, there's one thing making her look bulky, and there's one thing like draw. It looks like you drew everything normally, and uh, there's like a little kid in the suit. You know what I mean? Instead of just being a grown woman that just has a bulky armor, right? Uh, so yeah, there's gesture issues as well. For example, if she's going to the left, her body direction is like currently the body direction goes to the right, but she's going to the left. It makes absolute no sense. Uh, Whatever she's running towards, that's where her body direction would be. Um, what else? I mean, values wise, I'm just giving you a quick rundown of overall critique instead of being too specific now. Values wise, there's not enough contrast. Like you're not showing what the focal point is right now. Everything is very mid-tone to dark. Um, like there's no actual like, oh, here's the focal point, or maybe it's the shield, or maybe it's her. Usually it's either gonna be one of the two, shield or the character, or the lens, because these are three pretty big focal points. But right now you're not portraying them as such through value. Everything is rather like, for example, the background has the same lightness as the armor, and then the lance has the same darkness as the cape. The character that's close to us is pretty dark, so I'll give you that. But everything is a bit too messy that it still reads like it's still not dark enough compared to everything else. It doesn't stand out, which could be a good thing. And then you have all these other elements, and it's like you need to put more focus into separating the values of things. And what else? I mean, there's a bunch of more stuff I could talk about, but I'd like to see more variations of the thumbnail. That is my main comment on this image, is that you didn't try in enough variety. So there you go. That's pretty much it, Fluster. That's the critique. Yeah. Good. So there you go.